talk you through mainly what we do in our phonics and how you can support phonics at home. And there'll also be a brief touch on maths and topic as well, and where you can find the information for these. So the main aims of the meeting are, as I say, to talk about the phonics and to give you ideas of how to support your children at home, and providing opportunities to ask questions. So if you do your hands up or in the chat box, I'll try and keep checking those, and we can always come back to something if I don't get to you in time. So our phonics lessons are using the Bug Club programme. We teach all our letters using Bug Club, and we've got some key vocabulary that your children will be coming home with. So in their yellow reading records, I've tried to be helpful in there and put some key vocabulary with explanations in there at the bottom, things like a phoneme, grapheme, digraph, trigraph. You will get used to it all. A phoneme is just the sound, so at the moment we're only doing alphabet sounds. So the phoneme is S, and when you write it down, it's the grapheme S, which is also called S. A is A. So its alphabet letters are also called a phoneme sound. So that's what your children are coming home with at the moment. We do use a little jolly phonic hook. There's a song with an action, so they might be coming home and saying ah, 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 with ants on my arm. And that's just a little hook to start them off. So if they need a little prompt, there is an action that goes with each letter sound. Okay, so there's ah for the ants on my arm, and there's a little song that goes with it. We just use it at the very beginning to introduce them, and each letter has a little action to go with it to help them. So in school, your children will be reading to an adult at least once a week. They do guided reading on a Monday, and then some additional reads during the week. If any of you would like to be parent helpers, we are starting to have parent helpers back in school again. So do speak to me if you think you might be able to do an hour on a Monday afternoon, or a Tuesday morning, or wherever it is in the week, and we'll see if we can have you in to do some volunteering. That would be amazing if anybody can. And ideally we start off with extra reading there in the class as well. So each class, our class has a book corner and lots of opportunities to share books. We have reading stories at the end of the day, as well as our phonic reading books. But the phonic reading books is hopefully the bit you want to know about particularly. So now that we're all up and running, they will get their books changed every Monday and Thursday, and there'll be a phonic reading book. So these are books that start off with very simple words and vocabulary. I know they're not all that interesting at the moment, but so far we've only learned sort of 8 to 12 letters, and that's all that is allowed to be in these books. So the books, as you can imagine, the more letters we learn, the more interesting the books will get, I promise. But they are books for learning to read. So these are not books to share our love of reading and stories. So please treat them as a phonics book to learn to read. So this is a set 3 book, so you might be on a set 1 or 2 with Sapin MD, or you might have got the GUOC already as well added into your books at home. So when they bring these books home, your child will be sounding out the letters. So in the title here, they'll be pointing at them and reading k, at, cat. The k, at bit is the sounding out. So these are the phoneme sounds. They're reading the grapheme and saying the phoneme. So they'll be more likely to be able to say k, at, and then you might need to say it again for them so that they can hear the blend. Blending is a bit trickier. So it might be that for now you're helping them blend. They sound it out and you blend it together. Or if you say back to them, cat, they might then hear cat. So at the moment, it's a bit of a plod through the pages. At, cat, and, d, at, dan. And then the likelihood is at this point, they won't be able to then say cat and dan, and you'll need to help them there as well. So you can see that it's a learning to read book. And the idea is that they're going to be reading these books with you. They'll have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to read a book, and then it'll be changed, and you'll have another book Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Ideally, they should be reading these books as many days as possible. So if you get Cat and Dan on a Monday, you could read it Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and it is repetitive, but it is a learning to read book. So from the Monday to then the second or third read, hopefully they will be a little bit faster. The words will be more familiar and they'll gain a bit of fluency. And then if you imagine that in weeks and weeks' time, then they should be gaining better understanding of how to sound and blend and a bit more fluency. So it can be repetitive. And if you want to talk to us about how to approach the reading at home, then do come and ask us along the way. At the end, pick up at the end of the day, you're always welcome to come and let us know how it's going and ask for any tips or tricks. And tricky words. They've learned their first 2 tricky words. They've had and, which isn't quite a tricky word, but to looks like t or to. So it's a tricky word because it's not to, it's to. And the other ones that they'll be coming out with in the next few weeks are the, into, no, go. It's because they don't sound and blend exactly as they are. They're just tricky. So in these reading books, these are the books we'll have. They're all from Bug Club, and you've all got a Bug Club login, which I'll show you as well before the end of the session, how to use your Bug Club login. When you open the book, there's a nice info page in the front cover. So it tells you all the sounds that are going to be in the book, or it'll tell you all the new sounds. Once you get a new book, these SAPIN MD sounds will just be a given, and the next book is going to tell you that the new letters are g, ok, and k. And then it'll give you some practice words to sound and blend before you go into the book. So it'll just give you some key words that will come up in the book, and if you practice them, hopefully when they get to them, they'll be just that bit more familiar and fluent at it. When you're using the Bug Club books online, there's also a bug picture. So when I show you in there later, there's 2 in every book, and they've got a little question or a little thing to practice in them. So I'll show you it when I show you on Bug Club later, but those are little questions to go along with the book as well. And then at the end of the book, there's tips for adults if you want to read them, to find out about how to read and how to do comprehension with the books as well. These are the tricky word strips that are in your reading record, but we are going to stick a new one on top because we've had to add in just a couple of words into the strips. They'll be added in when we change books tomorrow. So the home reading, as I said, will be changed twice a week. In the yellow reading record, there's a space for you to, we write the book in that we've sent home with them, and next to where we've written the book and it's empty, that's just for you to say, to write down how your child got on. So when we change the books, we use that as part, we'll read your comments, and that's part of how we're assessing the children, how they're managing at school and how they're managing at home. So you can write us notes in there because we are reading it, but whether we read it at the right time or not, you know, if you're right, if you want to give us a message, it's best to tell us on the door, just to make sure we've got that on the day. And reading the books with your child, ideally, if you could read each book 3 times, that would be amazing. But we would say a minimum of 4 times a week to be reading, to be listening to your child read their books, if you can. This is what's inside the reading record, inside cover, and I've tried to be really clear on here about, I'm circling what I'm teaching and then highlighting what your children know. So this is just for school staff to use to work on the page, but for you to see at home as well. In your reading records now, it should be circled Unit 1, Unit 2 and Unit 3, and then there should be highlights of the phonemes that your child is saying out loud. So when they're reading those letters, they can call out at, it, and then if they're not highlighted, those are the ones that your child needs to practice because we've taught them and they don't know them just yet. So that's really helpful for us when we're reading with them at school, and when you're reading with them at home, you can look in the inside cover and say, oh, we're still practicing and k. So we'll practice that before we start reading a book, and then hopefully soon enough we'll be able to highlight those off for them. Same with the tricky words on the other side. We teach them in a more staggered approach. So at the moment it should be circled 2, and when we stick it on the front tomorrow it'll be circled 2 and circled and, because those are the ones we'll have taught on the orange strip, and it'll only be the orange strip for a while that we're working through, and then later we'll move on to the purple strip, but that'll be closer to Christmas. And down the bottom is a little explanation. So the phoneme is the sound out loud, the grapheme is the same sound written down, and later in the year, but not till after Christmas, we'll be introducing digraph and trigraph. If you look across to Unit 8, there's ch, sh, th, ng. Those are all digraphs, and that means 2 letters to make the sound. So it's still a phoneme, but rather than the phoneme like ah is just 1 letter, the phoneme ch has 2 letters, so it's a digraph. And then Unit 9's got IGH, I, that's a trigraph, 3 letters, but it's still just 1 phoneme sound. So these are phonic readers, and they are to learn to read, and the more you practice them, the more fluency you gain, and they will get more interesting. But alongside this, we do need to share the love of reading. So at the moment, you know, they're going to be a bit slower with their learning to read books, but at home, we hope that at bedtime and at other times in the day, you're sharing a love of reading using bedtime stories, books you find in the library. Soon we hope to be sending books from school that are similar, that are sharing the love of reading. So these are not books for your child to read, but by you reading these books to your child, they are learning vocabulary, they're learning about topics that they might not normally have experience of, and they're discussing them and chatting about them with you. They can then retell them by themselves with all the new vocabulary they've learned. So sharing the love of reading is also important, and I realise the week is not 15 days long and it's a lot to fit in, so it's just finding the balance that's right for your family, and finding where the good times and opportunities are to do these activities. So that's basically how we're going to teach the phonics. By Christmas, we hope to have covered all of these alphabet letters. These are the letter families that we use in school, and I'll send a copy home so that you've got them at home. These are to group the letters into letter families that help them with their handwriting. Later in the year, and when they move on to year 1, they talk about joining writing, and if they're still doing their D, the D, with a circle starting at the bottom and then adding a line here, there, and a flick after, it just makes it really challenging for them to undo all these habits. So we're going really slow at the moment with lots of finger gym and colouring and drawing skills before we start getting too far into letter writing, so that hopefully when we start more formal letter writing, they're ready to do it all the right way round. So we have started letter families and letter formation with the letters we've learned so far, but it's all practice at the moment. So there's on these ones, there's dots where they need to start, and it's really important at home that if you're practicing with them, please try and get them to be going the right way round. So the one-armed robots, they start at the robot's head, they go straight down, straight back up again and over his arm, and every letter starts back like that, straight down, straight back up and over. You can see the little robots at the bottom. And then the long ladder letters are very straight letters. Some are tall ladders, some are short ladders, but they're all very straight letters. If the letters go under the line, like the Y or the J, we call that call that a monkey tail, because it's like the monkey's tail swinging under the branch. So some letters have got monkey tails. Zigzag monsters are a little bit more random, but they're zigzaggy, straight and pointy. And the curly caterpillars, every single letter starts, go round the curly caterpillar, apart from E, goes across and then around the curly caterpillar. So lots of around the curly caterpillar and making sure it's going the right way, otherwise we get a lot of D's as B's. So if you're practicing at home, that's the language we'll be using, and I'll send a copy of this home for you. So at the moment at school, we are practicing that with whiteboards and writing in very glittery sand. and we've got rocks where we're practicing the indent on the rocks. But at the moment, it's all about finger gym. At home, especially with the holidays coming up next week when we're not in school, could you be thinking about, can my child hold their pencil with pinchy fingers like a tripod grip and colour something? Can they draw a circle or a square or a house or a person? Can they use scissors to cut maybe along a simple line, like in the picture they're cutting a square? And can they use glue sticks? So that's what we're practicing at the moment, sort of independent skills with colouring pens and scissors and glues and tape dispensers, that sort of thing. So if you think, oh, actually my child can't use scissors to follow a simple outline yet, then maybe that's something you could have a go with doing some making and cutting over the holidays. That would be very lovely. And this was much later in a school year, but we part of learning handwriting is learning to draw. And if they're progressing in their drawing, then they'll be more capable in their writing as well. So learning to draw is a lovely way to practice handwriting skills without even thinking about very boring letters. So we've followed some learn to draw skills and did some draw with Rob. And then a little bit about maths, not too much about maths, but we are following a white rose approach. Everything is very practical, very fun. It's all through our resources. We try and keep everything really physical. If we're thinking about 4, we're going to be holding 4 and lining up 4. It's going to be blocks and conkers and lovely practical resources. And from a home side, we don't set any maths homework. The only sort of official homework you'll get from us is the reading books. We might ask you individually, or we're noticing that your child is needing a bit of extra practice with this, could you help us out at home? But generally, if you want to help us with maths at home, it's things like accurate counting, games with any sort of mathematics, could be Duplo building and talking about the language of their buildings being taller and bigger and wider, and how are we going to get this person to get through there? We need to build a door, we need to take some of this out. It's all mathematical language that naturally comes up with construction or patterns, or this week we've been doing repeating patterns. There's lots of practical activities and games that you're probably doing all the time at home, that while you're building these lovely play activities or using Play-Doh, it's just thinking, oh, what other maths could I pop in here? And it's keeping it very fun and enjoyable for them. Things like dice games are amazing. So rolling the dice, being able to see that the dice is 1 or 3 or 5 or 6 without counting is called subitizing, another word that your child will be coming home saying at some point. So helping at home is just natural stuff, spotting numbers around, clocks, cars, doors, counting when you do things. Oh, let's see how many steps it takes to get to the lamppost, and counting out your steps. Dice games. The subitizing is not too high, probably to a dice amount. So seeing things when it's less than 5 or 6 and knowing that's 3. I can see 3 and 2. 3 and 2 is how many altogether, and just thinking about it in a playful way. Things like setting the table or hiding things around the house are just fun ways to have some maths naturally coming up in your time at home. If you're choosing things on the telly, number blocks is great. We use it as part of our learning at school. So number blocks was written by maths specialists. It's very well written, and sometimes we watch the 5-minute episode and then have activities that are all linked to the episode of number blocks, and it's a really nice way. The children get very excited, they think it's fun, and they're surprised that is okay when we're learning sometimes. So it's a nice one to have at home if you fancy a bit of number blocks. So School is not all about phonics and maths and literacy and reading. We have topic afternoons. All the afternoons are themed around play and learning. This term was all about me. And we've been learning about families. They've been sitting on the step to talk about their family photo from home. And we're learning about jobs and what people do when they grow up, and people who help us, like doctors and nurses, and lots of learning. Next term will be more like storytelling and celebrations. And I'm going to put an overview of term 1 onto the website. Is that this one? So last year I was doing the website for updates for parents, and we were this term we were moving to Tapestry, but we're having some technical issues with Tapestry, so it is getting up and running. But in the meantime, on Friday I'll put up some information this week and next week about what we've been doing this term and what's going to be coming up next term, so that I can get some information across to you and some photos of what they've been doing in school. And then I'll let you know as soon as we can move over to Tapestry notifications from there. I'm gonna come out and check if there's any questions, because I can't see from where I am. Oh, you found Bug Club logins, well done. So the Bug Club logins is on a sticker inside your yellow reading record, but we do have a copy of the logins if they do get lost somehow. Thank you. I'm just going to share one more screen. So I did share this with the children today. Where is it? There we go. So Bug Club has changed its name to Active Learn. If you Google Bug Club login, it will bring you to the right place, because it's gone from Bug Club website to Active Learn, and now it says login.pearson. So a bit confusing. But if you Google Bug Club login, you can put your information there. I'm logging in as Pam, but you've got your child logins at home. And this is what you'll come up with. So in your Bug Club login, I'm just going to take you on a whistle-stop tour through Bug Club. So you can change your world if you want to make it more interesting for your child. They can choose where they are, it doesn't matter. Little world. And in my stuff, these are the things that I'm allocating to you. So at the moment, Pam's got access to the set 1 and 2. So I'll be adding GOC. So there'll be a whole nother set of books and a whole nother set of games and activities. So it's got 2 tabs. So in the independence one, with the little bug reading a book, it's got all the books we have access to. So we can't possibly send all the books home to you, but just for 8 letters, there's 9 reading books that you could read with your children. I know screen time is a thing, and if you've got any concerns about things like this, just come and ask me. But we do have access to everything on Bug Club, and I've only got access to what I can manage to sort of get you home without Bug Club. So with Bug Club, you can open your books. Now, I see a limited amount from my side, so this bit is important, please. So I can see that you've read books and you need new ones, but it's quite hard to unallocate and reallocate. So if I go back to the beginning of this book, when you open your book, I've told the children that these bugs are awake, and there's 2 of them in every book, and they have to go to sleep to make your book go to the library. So you might not see it because it's a pop-up, but I don't know. So if you click on it, there's a little activity that you do, and then once you've done it, you click done and go back to the book. And then he's gone to sleep, and then as you read your lovely book and listen to your child read their book, lots of sounding and blending, but if you read it another time, they would be quicker. Do the same with this one. There's two little questions. The first one is always practicing the sounds that will be in your book, the new sounds. And the last one is always just one little question related to the book. When you close it, you can choose whether you liked it, didn't like it, was okay. I'm going to say that was a lovely book, thank you very much. And it's gone. So to find that book again, if you loved it and you think, oh, how sad it's gone, you do have a library. And all the books that you've read and finished go into your library, so that they'll just build up a little bank of library books in there. So they are there, but it means I can see from my end that when these books start disappearing, it's when you've read them. So those are all the books, and they will just build up. Sadly, they don't tell you what set they are. So if you ended up with more books that were then adding more letters, it might mean that I need to go in and clear out some of your old books. So you just need to let me know if you need your Bug Club tidied up. I can go in and delete some of the old books, but I have to do it one child at a time. So you just need to let me know. And then if you change to the phonics one, at school we use these games and lessons, and you've got access to them all at home. If screen time's an issue, the games are very straightforward. You could just have a look at it yourself and make some quick flashcards up if you wanted to do it practically instead of going onto the screen. All of these games could easily be made up with flashcards if you have the time. Obviously, they're just here if you want them as well. I'm not sure if you can see and hear what's going on when I. But they ask you a word and you have to go around app. I'm looking for app and then choose. They were very excited today because you get 10 turns on those games. You get 10 goes. But at school we take turns. So a game with 10 goes, they have 1 go each to come up to the board, and they were very excited that they get to have all 10 goes if they play at home. So there's ones for letter names, ABC, ones for letter sounds, reading little words, spelling little words. You have to use the arrow. It's a little bit fiddly, so you just scroll up and down looking for the right sounds and then choose OK, and he'll swim down the rest. Oh, thank you, and 10 points. So these are all the games, and language games get more challenging. So those ones go from words to little sentences. So there's a nice variety. In every set, you'll get a new set of these games. But you've also got access to the lesson we teach in school. So there's a little video on each of them, which is the main thing that your child will want to have a look at home. Each lesson has a little 30-second video that would be an animated cartoon of the going around, going and doing some lovely things. So it's a little 30-second or so video, and then they spot some pictures with in them. There are other tabs if you wanted to have a look through, and it's practicing there, sounding, blending, or spelling. So you've got access to all of it at home, but each one does have a lovely, jolly video. So if there's a letter that your child's unsure on, going into there and finding the right letter to watch the little video on, and then practicing with the Bug Club games is a great way to practice individual letter sounds with them. And then you might have spotted that I got some gold coin points. And then you can go to my rewards, and there's a few. We tried to look at these earlier, and they were laughing at my technology skills. But they've got some fun little bits to go alongside it. If you want it, you can do little races. Your coins can. Oh, it stopped working. Oh wait, your coins can give you stickers for a sticker book. Go into the sticker factory, and you've got coins in your treasure chest that you build up, and you can buy little stickers that can go in your sticker book. And there's a tree house that we started decorating today with some of Pam's points that she's been earning. Well done, Pam. So we've been choosing things that we can buy and decorating our little tree house with them. So I've shown the children how to do it all. There's also a little tab just for you if you want any frequently asked questions with the reading, then that's there as well. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Lovely. So that's me talking for 34 minutes solid. Sorry, guys. Are there any questions before we finish off there? Because I think that's a lot of information for one go. And I'll send home a few activities. So we'll pop a new tricky word strip just on top of the one you've got in your reading record already, because it just needed a couple of words newly added on. And I'll send home letter families and a jolly phonic sort of strip, which I'm not allowed to call jolly phonics. No? Okay. Well, we'll leave it there then. Oh, maybe a question. If you think of any questions down the line, as I say, just home time when you pick up. Once we've got through the busy 5 minutes of getting the kids out, just hang and ask me a question. That's no problem, and we can have a chat about things then. Otherwise, I'll say bye. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Cheers, bye.